NFL.com senior director just released 4 trade hauls that the Bears could get for the number 1 pick. We break that all down next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
She's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching out there on YouTube. And also, make sure to listen to the podcast everywhere that you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you know the whole deal. Rate 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. And tomorrow, we have a live show at 7:30 on YouTube, and we'll be breaking down, unless bigger news happens, we'll be breaking down free agents that aren't necessarily on everybody's list. What is going on, friends? Let's break some news down because Ali Bhanpuri, the senior director for content and editorial at NFL.com, released 4 potential trade hauls that the Bears could get. And he also broke it down in some phenomenal detail as to why he expects that these are the hauls that the Bears should be asking for and the premium that he assigned to it too. So we'll be breaking all that down. But first, we got to get into a little bit of news before we hit the main topic. But first, today, all quiet on the Western Front, so to speak. It was all quiet here. No one really got tagged as of when I'm recording this right now. No breaking news. So quiet, right? It's not like the free agency where something happens. I was hoping the Bears would tag Jalen Johnson, but I think it would happen sooner rather than later. So we were all distracted, though, as Bears fans, because it wasn't just the potential tags that were going out there. Everyone was freaking out about Justin Fields unfollowing the Bears on Instagram. Whether or not he was already following the Bears on Instagram, I don't know, and I really haven't seen anybody confirm that he, in fact, did follow the Chicago Bears on Instagram. But it did spark some panic, so I wanted to know for you guys. 1 being you're absolutely chill, you're Justin Fields level chill, or 10, you're freaking out, like you're just absolutely freaking out. What's your level, 1 to 10? Because for me, I'm like, it was weird to think that it would actually happen, because like what we talked about yesterday, fully expect that we would know things after the NFL Combine, which is next week, which begins next week, which we'll be breaking down all next week. But I'm not too nervous by this, or I'm not too panicked, because I feel like that's more so going to happen a little bit later on. You know, it's weird, yes, but I'm still in the camp that I expect them to go with Caleb Williams, but I know a lot of people, like what we did with the polls, a lot of people want them to keep Justin Fields, and to me, I'm still right in the middle, right? I'm a Bears fan through and through. Whatever they do, I'm going to support. Whatever they do, I'm happy with, but it's going to sting. Like, if they trade Justin Fields, it's going to sting. I saw a video out there. It was like I just had to turn it off because I'm like, I can't watch Justin Fields stuff right now knowing that he might be traded down the road. So, yeah, but we'll see what ends up happening. Obviously, we'll keep you all up to date with what is going on. But let's go through the trade scenario. So, like I mentioned before, Ali Bhanpuri, the senior director at NFL.com of content and editorial, released this. But first, we got to go through some ground rules. Obviously, this would be trading the first pick. So this gentleman right here, Caleb Williams, would not be the prize. So if you're not a Caleb Williams fan, rejoice that the Bears would be trading down in these scenarios. But he has a bunch of different rules that he outlined. Basically, what he was saying is that he expects that people are going to have to overpay. So he was basing a lot of these trades off of previous trades where people were trading in to the top 5 picks. So he was saying that, hey, he kind of made sure that everything was in fact an overpay. And what I love is that he at least outlines how big of an overpay will be out there. So everything is over a 25% overpay. So he has little point values for every draft pick. So just kind of like, and he's saying that he's using the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart, and then he's kind of doing 25% overpay at a minimum for that number 1 pick. But then his second rule, 2025 picks he valued as the 18th overall pick in the round. And then basically as a last non-playoff team. Then 2026 picks are valued as the 32nd overall pick. So that's just kind of how he's valued everything inside of his chart. So I like that he at least outlined it very, very clearly to say, hey, this is everything. So if anyone complains about it, this is how I put everything out there. So let's go through the first trade, and that's with the Washington Commanders. And also I want to know out there on YouTube what your thoughts are on some of these trades. So the first option, the first trade scenario that he outlined is obviously Bears trade the number 1 pick, which is worth 3,000 points. Then the Bears would receive the number 2 pick overall, which is worth 2,600 points. And then in 2024, they would get the 36th pick, which is 540 points. The second round pick, which is, or the 40th pick overall, which is 500 points. And then the third round pick compensatory, which is around 100 points. So Washington would pay a 25% premium, which would be 3,740 total points to move up that one spot for that, essentially 3,000 point spot. So let me know. What do you think about this? Because this is very similar to what we did in the mock draft simulator when we did the fan mock. The only difference is that rather than the third round pick, we got the first pick next year. Now, this trade, I really like if you like Drake May. Because if you really, really like Drake May, I think that this is a good pick for it because you're able to kind of build around him and you have that immediate draft capital. Or even if you end up keeping Justin Fields and like what we've talked about, maybe you trade back. But for this, we're just assuming you get like one trade. If that were the case, I think that this is pretty good because if you're keeping Justin Fields and then adding a Marvin Harrison Jr., you then have 2 extra draft picks that allow you to kind of grow that team. The thing I don't like is I don't like we don't have any future draft capital because I like the idea of just kind of continuously adding more draft capital because one of my favorite things, and I want to bring this up, my favorite thing is getting future draft capital. Why? This is like a Madden move, and some of you that will hate on anything that anyone says about Madden. The reason why it works so well is because the day after the draft, that next year's pick becomes this year's pick. So that stock, that value in that pick skyrockets. So it doesn't help you that year, but now you get even more value like literally right then. So that's why I love the idea of the Bears getting future draft capital because you can deal that as a first round pick a week from the draft. So to me, that's why I like getting the future draft capital because it increases in value. It just increases. So that's why I really, really like the idea of trading and getting future draft picks. That's my only critique on that option 1. But let's go to option 2, shall we? This is with the New England Patriots, and it is obviously the first round pick, the first pick overall that we're trading away. And then we're getting the third pick overall, the 34th pick overall, which is worth 5,600 points. The third pick is 2,200 points. And then we're getting, here we go, the first round pick in 2025, which is worth 900 points. And then in 2026, a third round pick, which is 116 points. This one I like because you do get the second round pick. And then also this is a 26% premium, 3,776 points. Right? The good part about this is that if you love Marvin Harrison Jr., which everyone should, you can get him. And assuming that the Commanders end up going with the quarterback at the second pick overall. So if you're Ryan Poles, you really have to kind of gauge, okay, do they really just need a quarterback? Wide receivers, I feel like Washington, though, has very, very good wide receivers. That's not the problem. It's the O-line. It's the quarterback, and more so that than the actual wide receivers. But I like this because you're at least able to kind of move back to number 3, get Marvin Harrison Jr., still have future draft capital. So overall, I don't mind this, right? It's not as much as we as Bears fans mock to ourselves, but I think that this is a pretty good haul, and I like it because you can draft a player, you can draft Marvin Harrison Jr., you have the 34th pick, so you kind of pick at the top of the second round. So what I love about that too is every year in the draft, there's always some people that were supposed to be first rounders that drop, and then they go like immediately in the top 5 picks in the second round. So I love the idea, even though that we've traded away those picks all the time. I love the idea of having that 34th pick, and then you have the future draft capital. So I am a fan of this one if you were to trade back. But let's talk about the next, trading out of the top 5, where a lot of us Bears fans, we don't really trade outside of this top 5. Usually it's just to 2 or 3 if we're trading back. And this is with the New York Football Giants. So with this one, we're getting the 6th overall pick. So we're just trading the 1st overall pick, which yet again, 3,000 points. We're trading we're getting the 6th overall pick, which is worth 1,600 points. Then this year's 39th pick overall, which is worth 510 points. Then the 70th pick overall, which is worth 240 points. So you're getting 3 you're basically getting their first, second, and third round. So you're kind of bolstering that this year. And then you're getting their first round pick in 2025. And then their first round pick in 2026. So New York pays a 28% premium on that, worth 3,840 points. And I tell you, this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I love the idea that you would get 3 first-round picks. You would have 2 first-round picks for the next 2 years. Also, the Giants love to crash and burn. I have a lot of coworkers that live out in New York, and they're very down on the Giants. I really, really, really like this because you throw Caleb Williams out there, who's the wide receivers, who's the offensive line. They were a very dysfunctional team last season. So to me, if I see this, I kind of like the idea of this because this gives you a good chance, I feel, to get a good pick next year. And also you get a good haul in the first, and also with the 6th pick overall. This is where I think the question lies. Is who will you get with that pick? Because I feel like that might be a Rome Odunze, or is Malik Neighbors going to be there? Because if you could get Malik Neighbors, I'm fine with it. If Rome Odunze is there, not as much fine, but you're still getting a wide receiver. But worst case scenario, if those are all gone, you're assuming that it was maybe 3 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers. And if it's 3 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, that means Joe Alt, the left tackle out of Notre Dame, he's very good. And he's very consistent. And I know a lot of tackles, they don't just instantly start and make an impact year one. He has a good case to make that impact year one. Very solid, very good tackle. And then maybe you shift to Braxton Jones inside. That's something that the Bears would have to think about. But you could get some good tackle play. Or if not, I'm not saying totally trade down, but you could totally trade down. Or you could get a Brock Bowers. So I really like this trade. This, to me, is so far my favorite. But let me know what you think down below. I really like this one. But let's go to the last trade compensation that they had. And this was with the Atlanta Falcons. So the Bears go, we're not trading you Justin Fields. How about we trade with you with this? So this is a little different. But this has the highest premium out of all of them. 30% premium for the Bears to go all the way back to number 8. And the Bears will trade the number 1 pick and Khalil Herbert. So they're giving away our running back and the first pick overall. And what we get, the 8th pick overall, which is worth 1,400 points, the Bears would get Bijan Robinson, worth 1,120 points. The 3rd round pick this year, number 74, 220 points. Then the Bears would get a 2025 first round pick worth 900 points. And then they would get a 2nd round pick worth 270 points. And that 2nd round pick is out in 2026. And this one, I don't know. I go back and forth because I was born in Austin. I was raised a Texas Longhorn fan. I've seen a lot of Bijan Robinson, and he's really freaking good. So to me, if you get Bijan, you have a star running back right there on a rookie deal. That to me is enticing. But I do know that you can get good running back play later on in the rounds. It'd be fun to get a superstar like this. And that's the enticing pick. Like we talked about this last year, for those that followed us last year, where we were like, man, I know you shouldn't draft a running back high, but Bijan Robinson, man. Bijan Robinson is a fun player to watch. So I could see a lot of you out there saying, take this, right? Get the star running back, get the person that does it all. And Bijan can play wide. He can freaking play wide receiver out there. He's that talented of a player. And we saw it last year, but Arthur Smith liked to kind of hide all of his star players. So Bijan, I like it. Let's talk about the number 8th pick overall. With that pick, now a lot of people have the Falcons drafting a defensive player, so a lot of times it's not necessarily like Rome Odunze or anything like that, but you're kind of talking about the same people that the Bears would be looking at around at that 9 spot. So maybe one of the wide receivers falls to you, maybe a tight end like Brock Bowers falls to you if the Bears want to get another tight end / slot player inside of the mix. It depends on how the Bears see how he can kind of fit in the overall mixture. Do you go with an offensive lineman? Do you trade back defensive lineman? You're kind of getting with that pick. So I do kind of like it. And I mean, the Falcons, what type of a future do they have? They're always stingy. They always squeak out a handful of wins, and maybe with a new coach, maybe with a new quarterback, a quarterback that actually has like a potential future to him. Maybe they end up doing something. Maybe they turn some stuff around. But yeah, this one to me is the most fun option. I think if this were to happen, this is the good thing for the fans, because then we get to witness Bijan Robinson and Justin Fields on the same team, which, I mean, first and foremost, we're fans. That would be just a fun freaking combo to watch overall, just to see Bijan Robinson out there and Fields and DJ Moore. That would be fun. So let me know what you think down below. Like we were saying before, Washington Commanders kind of trading that 2nd pick and 2 seconds and their 3rd, and then Patriots trading the number 3 overall and the 34th pick and a 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick, for future drafts. And then also the Giants. I think as I'm looking back at this, probably where my rankings go is I would do the Giants. I really like the Giants idea just because I love the idea of getting those 2 first. Then I'd probably say New England, because low-key, New England might suck without Belichick. They get rid of one of the greatest coaches of all time with a first-time coach, and Belichick has always gotten something out of this defense. This offense could completely flop. This offense could flop. This defense could flop. The Patriots could be an absolute train wreck next season. So that's where I like this, because maybe you can get another Carolina Panthers and get the 1st pick overall again for the 3rd year in a row, and then get another haul. Right? That's where I do kind of like the Patriots, but then I would go more so with my 3rd would probably be the Falcons. That would be my number 1 for fun, because I would love to see Bijan Robinson. 2 would be Commanders if they ultimately just wanted to go Marvin Harrison Jr. Right? If they just wanted Marvin Harrison Jr., I feel like this, I want the future draft capital. That's why that one for me is my last. But let me know what you think down below in the comments, and also make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube, and also download the podcast everywhere that you get your podcast. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and